Hi, this is Karina from the Royalty Coach. I am here with Nancy Mitchell. She is an amazing person. She has been publishing for just a little while, not a ton. And she has a best-selling book. And so we need to know all about it. So we're going to ask her some questions. So before we jump into the questions, Nancy, just give us like a little snippet about who you are. Just how did you kind of come about, the publishing journey?
Sure, sure. Well, I actually kind of stumbled into it. I wasn't looking for it, but I was bored one day and I was kind of curious on how Amazon worked. I couldn't figure out how regular folks were selling on Amazon, and I didn't want to sell products on Amazon. I had had a retail business before, and I didn't want that. I was just curious on how it worked. And then as I was looking at that, I saw the publishing opportunity. And I thought, I could do this. That's kind of how it started.
That's amazing. So that's probably, how a lot of people actually start. They get curious. They kind of maybe look for online businesses and they just stumble. It's how it happened for me. I stumbled across that. Before you and I started working together through this particular program, what was your publishing journey like?
Well, of course, I was excited for the opportunity. But as I was getting into it, I saw it wasn't really set up for verbal interaction. I would
Okay.
have questions and no real good way of getting the answer. And so I became a little frustrated with that. So I would say that my belief that I could do this probably waned a little bit in
Interesting.
that time.
Okay. So it was the lack of interaction, the
Yeah,
sort of like the one-on-one like ability
right.
to just get your questions answered? Like, what was the structure when you entered this particular?
Well, where I entered, there was no, you could not just verbally ask a question. You had to type out your question days in advance.
Okay.
And, um, I'm going to tell my age here a little bit, but I know when we started doing emails and we started doing texting, when that became a thing, I was warned that they're not going to have, whoever is on the other end of that's not going to have the context. They're not going to hear your voice. They don't know the inflection. You got to be real careful that what you're typing in is really what you're meaning to type in. Well, it was the same thing with this. You had to figure out how can I ask this question by just typing in a question. How are they really going to understand? And a lot of times they didn't. So
Right.
then, but you still had to just type it in. So there was no personal coaching. There was no back and forth verbally.
That's a huge waste of time, like for the student, for the client, right? Like I find that the way people learn, right? There's different modalities of how people learn. So some people are super visual, some people are super like verbal.
Mhm.
I've had, clients, and maybe you can relate as far as like sometimes when you're getting responses. I used to have clients that would write me like a novel in an email. And as a coach, that's
Mhm.
an extremely difficult thing to do when you're not a, like when you don't use look, text, right? As a means of communication, I'm very verbal. And I found that a lot of people struggled when they're not receiving the responses in the way they need, right, to receive the
Mhm.
response. So it
Mhm.
takes such a long time to actually get your question answered.
Mhm.
Okay, so we know there's like a ton of different courses out there. There's some really great courses on publishing. Like we're not even gonna, like there's awesome stuff out there. You had options like a lot of people, right? There's a ton of information. Why did you end up upgrading to work with a coach?
Well, it was that needing that verbal
Okay.
interaction. That was it.
Okay.
That was it.
So that was primarily it. Like that was just, it was like a personal, you needed that personal touch.
Well, you're all by yourself, more isolated if you don't have that. You think, okay, I'm reading all of this information, I'm learning this, But
Yeah.
am I applying it correctly? There's just not a good way to find out. I needed that. I needed the verbal, not send me a reply days later in
Yeah.
writing. I needed that back and forth.
Yeah, I find that stressful. Like you're trying to get a question answered and it's not immediate. It's sometimes not even 24 hours and you're struggling like that. You're sitting and you're waiting. And so now something that should have taken you 3 months, it's going to be four because
Hmm.
every single time that you have to wait for an answer, it's just longer, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I want stuff done and I want my book out there and I want to start making money. Like that's my deal. Why did you request to work with me? Because we've had other coaches. Why me?
I wanted to succeed. That
Interesting.
was basically it. I wanted to succeed.
So,
I didn't want to just finish my book. I wanted my book to be a winner.
okay.
I actually had heard you, I heard you do some training, and I thought, I want her. I could tell that you knew what to do, you knew what not to do, and you could help a person stay on track.
Okay.
And I mean, that was a big part of it. And I saw that I sat in on some of your trainings and I saw that. And I thought, you know, I, again, I wanted to be successful and I wanted my book to be successful. And a part of that is I just knew that you would keep whoever you're working with would keep them on track. And that's a big
So,
part of it as well.
keeping on track. That's
Hmm.
something that I hear a lot because I find that with a lot of courses, like there is so much information. Like people just go into like information overload, right? And I find, and I don't know, maybe you can relate to this, but I find that a lot of people just they get overwhelmed. They look at the course, even though it's laid out beautifully, it's lesson by lesson, and you do your lessons and you're like, getting through the material but you get overwhelmed. And sometimes it's the smallest thing that becomes the biggest stopper for people.
Hmm.
Is that something like you can relate to? Is
Oh,
that,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah?
You've been through it and you're teaching what you've been through. And
Yeah,
you didn't just go through it with getting a book. You went through it or you go through it with being very successful. Each publication, success, success, success. So why would I not want to learn from a person who's having that result?
that's amazing. I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, would you say then that like how did you find, because I find that feedback is super important for people, right? Like feedback is practically a must. And you know my style. So like let's talk about my style for a minute because for those for those people out there who don't know my style, I'm a very direct person and I just don't believe in wasting people's time. And I believe in feedback. As a consultant for many, many years, I believe that people without good, solid, honest feedback, we can't improve, right? So feedback is massive. How do you think that direct feedback, especially the one that I give, because sometimes I have people looking at me like, is she for real?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But how does this direct feedback and like the accountability, right? How do you think that impacted the results that you have?
I think it was very important. Um, the accountability is what keeps you on track, right? Which sometimes I did. I got off onto something thinking this is what I need to do, and without having that interaction with you, you don't realize, oh, you're going down the wrong path.
Yeah,
Come back over here, and this is why, this is what we're doing, this is what you need to do. You're just really good at that.
that's awesome. That's good to know. Okay, you're doing super well. Okay, you're making 14,000 a month right now with your book. The book is a bestseller. Like you're killing it on Amazon. If you were to kind of think through the journey of just your book creation process, which part of that would you say you struggled with the most?
for mine, but because it had so many images that I struggled with finding the best contractor for that,
Okay.
subcontractor, graphics person. I don't know that I always did the best job on that. And
So you mean the poses because your book is on,
yes, the poses.
it's got
Uh-huh.
a lot of poses. Okay, so that was
Hmm.
the biggest struggle, just finding the right person.
Finding the
Yeah.
finding someone that because I went through, you have to test them and see, what they have. So I went through a few, and then I'm not even sure that I made the right decision in the end. Now, I do have a successful book, so I can't say that
Yeah.
I didn't, but
Must have done something right.
I think it's some of those things that I struggled with. You have it right there in front of you, but
Sure.
then a part of it is you've got to go out and get some subcontractors to do things you can't do.
Yeah.
So that I would say that's probably what I struggled with more.
Okay. So in the because I think this is a pretty important thing. People sometimes think, well, I'm going to take a course and then everything's going to be provided for me. Like they will tell me, they will give me the people, and it's not like that. You do have
Hmm.
to, in most courses, you learn the material and then you
Yeah.
go to wherever, right? If you need a freelancer or someone, and you still
Hmm.
have to go through that process of hiring them and making sure getting, you need to get the right person that can do the right thing because the book has to be quality. Like at the end of the day, I don't know that there are many bestsellers out there unless they really are done by famous people where
Hmm.
the book is like not good quality. And you can see that through the reviews, right? I've read
Hmm.
books that are supposed to be X famous person, and the reviews on that book are awful. So even the famous people don't get exempt from bad reviews. So at the end of the day, you've created a product. You've created an amazing book, great cover, great material, super good content. You took your time, you figured out, you've gotten the illustrator, the person who can design the poses. Like you did all the work, right? It's all the
Hmm.
little nitty gritty stuff that you have to do because the book has to be well done. And that's one of the things that I love about your book because it's not just AI generated
Hmm.
content. You know what I mean? That you just
Yeah.
kind of slap together and call it a day and whatever. You throw it on Amazon and you hope for some good reviews. And at the end of the
Hmm.
day, like you're not gonna get any. So I love that about your book. So that's interesting that you found that piece tougher, which
I
I
did, but now that listening to what you say, I'm thinking back and I'm thinking, you mentioned reviews. I did not have any reviews remarking that they didn't care for my images or poses. I think it's probably just me trying to be
yeah,
very careful and be very picky.
yeah.
I think it takes that extra, uh, look at it and make sure that it's the best it can be.
It really, really does. Um, it's kind of like, does Nike ever create a sneaker that they don't stand behind? It's the same for us, right? Do we
Hmm.
want to create books that we don't stand behind? And the answer probably is no. And if the answer is yes, you're probably in the wrong business because right now on Amazon, with 55 million plus customers, projections alone for KDP sales next year for 2026 are $22 billion. When you're creating good books, you're taking a piece of that pie. If you're not, you're simply not. Your book will be pushed down by the Amazon algorithm within days. So it's not even worth it to create books that are like, on a I don't know, what do you call those delivery belts, where you just one after the other, right? That's not the way we want to publish. So good for you. I love that you've created a great book. What was your biggest like aha moment during the whole coaching program?
It's a simple concept. And um, it's kind of like you put yourself in the shoes of the reader.
Mhm.
The reader's wondering how to something, and you make the answer. That's the answer. You have to create the answer for them.
Yeah, you give them the solution.
And you do it over and over and over again. So I think that was my aha because that's simple.
Yeah.
That's very simple. Putting yourself in the shoes of a reader and then create the answer that they're looking for.
Solving the problem is simple, not easy, because all the work that goes into, right, trying to figure out,
Yeah.
okay, what is it that they want? What is it that they actually want me to solve? And then putting it in a way that's engaging, exciting, maybe workbooky, right? Maybe there's a journal, maybe there's some prompts. So that part isn't simple or easy, but the concept, 100%. And I love that you got that aha because it takes people quite a long time to figure out that in self-publishing, especially in nonfiction, we are problem solvers all day long, every day. We literally are in the business of education. What do you think made the biggest difference in your success?
But I would say what made the difference is doing the launch correctly. Because one thing that I wanted was to get that bestseller banner. I really wanted that bad.
Yeah,
And once I did get that, I did get it.
yeah.
And once you get the red bestseller banner, more people are going to be ordering from you. And that's why I wanted it because it gives kind of credibility. Plus, it pushes your book up to the top of the page. It is a lot harder to get that red bestseller banner without doing a red banner launch. And I felt like that's the kind of launches you do. You do a red banner launch.
I love that I never even thought of this word, the red banner launch. I think I'm going to use
Yes,
that
I
in my,
kind of coined that word because I thought
yeah,
that's
I'm
what
going to
she
use it in my
does.
marketing. That's insane. I can't believe I never thought of it.
That was just
Launch
so
use
important
it
to
for you.
me.
Yeah,
Just so important. And I was dogged about it. I want that
I know.
that bestseller
I
banner.
know. It makes such a huge difference. So just for the sake of the listener, like whoever's going to be listening to our videos after, the bestseller tag, right? I love that it's that orange bestseller tag. It makes a huge difference in your life because it makes your money. Literally, the moment you get that thing, that's one, visibility. Two, Amazon begins to push your book. So the algorithm recognizes this immediately and it starts to promote the crap out of your book. Like it's phenomenal. So it's not just a status thing, although it
Mm,
feels nice. It feels nice,
no.
right? It
No,
feels
yeah, but yeah, I didn't want it for the status as much as what it did for me
yeah,
is give me at that point when I started receiving that, that's when I got the significant royalties.
yeah,
So it makes a difference in your income. That's what I was looking for.
yeah. It makes
And
sense.
I knew that was the doorway.
100%. It makes a huge difference in your income. It makes a massive difference on your ads because your Amazon ads work so much better. So you actually end up spending less money on ads and making more money in royalties. So it's literally, it's everything. That thing, that
Mhm.
little tag is everything. Okay, how does it feel to see this level of success after only 6 months?
Well, I thank the Lord all the time, and I really feel blessed. And I'm not sure if you know this or not, but the month that I got my first significant royalty,
Uh-huh.
you get that at the end of the month. At the beginning of the month is when I found out that my income, my regular income, was no more. I had lost my income.
No.
And I was panicked and I thought, I'm going to have to sell my home because I could not make ends meet without that income. I could not do it.
Gosh.
And that was at the beginning of the month, the first day of the month.
Wow.
At the last day of the month is when I got my royalty check. And that's my first one that had the significant income. So that I'm going, wait a minute, I just got it replaced. I just got it replaced. So it was scary there for a while. The span of about 3 weeks, it was very scary. And
Should give me shivers.
that's what this has done for me.
That's incredible. I'm
Yeah.
so happy. Honestly, nothing gives me more pleasure. And I mean this when I see my own clients or students just like surpassing me with their books. To me, that is just phenomenal. And you are in a very saturated topic. Like for those who don't understand this, a saturated topic is when there is a lot of authors or publishers doing books on that same exact topic.
Hmm.
We're
Hmm.
in a very saturated topic. Like we're talking, most people there don't make any money. I think though, what makes a huge difference is if you're going to publish on a topic like that, you really need to be strategic about your launch. You really have to understand what a launch is and how
Hmm.
to do it correctly because you will be buried in that topic. And this is the part, I don't know, for whatever reason, people just don't teach. And that's the part that for me, I will spend, 3 months creating a book now, because now I can do it super quickly. I'll take the 3 months, but I will plan a launch for a month and a half. That's how seriously I take it, because that's
Hmm.
how serious it is. I love this. I love that you had this experience. I'm vibing you, girl. I know exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know exactly
I
what.
mean, I was blindsided that I lost my income. I was not expecting it. And but then to get it replaced in the same month, I didn't miss a check.
Talk about
So
protection. I love it. And doing the right things. My goodness. Okay, last and final question. Okay, so for anyone that's watching, right? They've heard this, they've heard your whole essentially testimonial, but they're still sitting on the sidelines. They're like, I don't know if I want to spend that money. Like, I don't really know this girl. Like, I get it. She sounds super cool. She sounds pretty legit, but I don't know. Do I actually jump in or do I not jump in? Like, what would you say to them that might help them decide to jump in?
I think what I would say is you have a huge opportunity right in front of you, but you're not going to be alone. You'll have the tools you need, you'll have the personal input that you need and partnership in a way to be successful. You will have everything that you need. Then it will be up to you to go through the steps, but you'll have what you need.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm living proof of that. So I think that's what I would say. Jump in. The
Jump
water's warm.
in. Jump in. We're saying jump in.
Yeah,
Don't even
yeah,
think about it. Yeah, I think it
yeah.
makes a huge difference. When I think about my own journey, honestly, it took me 4 years to make money. I wasn't like you. I wasn't the 6 month publish, make, 10 grand a month and keep going. I wasn't that person. I was the person that took 4 years because it's taken me almost that long to perfect the launch strategy. So I've had a ton of failed books, ton. And then the moment I realized, I know it's going to make this work. And I started sharing. And actually, it was first my students who were getting the results and I wasn't because I wasn't publishing. I stopped it for a while because I was focused on just coaching.
Hmm.
And then I thought, this is so not smart. Like they're making money. I'm not making a penny. I need to start this. And then I started, and it's like bonkers. Every single book is a bestseller. And I'm like, okay, so they've proved, I've proved, everybody's proven this. We're good. This is a legit method. So
Hmm.
thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
doing this. Thank you for using my method. Thank you for not giving up. I know you've gone through some stuff. I appreciate you more than you know, and thank you for your time.
sure. You've made a difference in my life.
That's awesome.